The community's physical characteristics. The church was built around 20 years ago, and since it isn't that old, the architecture has some other features. The condition of housing and the other buildings are quite good. Still, we consider some changes need to be done. For example, the painting of the walls are fading. Some chairs aren't in a good condition. There are doors that don't close and some fans that don't give much air, among others. Around the main church, we observe that it is actually very calm and quiet. Even though it is in front of an avenue, there isn't that much traffic. There is also a park next to it, therefore, sometimes there is noise when it's crowded, but usually there isn't. The infrastructure around is in good conditions. The streets are good, the park next to it, and the sidewalks. There is a very good amount of green areas which looks good and helps the environment, and the people who live nearby are frequently part of the community. Community demographics. The community itself has around 700 people in it, both female and male. The community is very welcoming, so we can see like a 5% of the people there are from little towns outside the city. Thus, we have ethnic groups. Most of the people are women around 35 to 50 years old. Generally, there are whole families from 5 to even 15 members that belongs to the community. Around 37% of the people have degrees and an income over the minimum wage. As said before, the people that is part of the community lives nearby. Institutions. The main institution is called Nuestra Señora del Pilar, but this one is part of a trio that also includes Santa Teresita del Niño de Jesús y Santo Domingo de Guzmán. The first one is located in 27th Street around 27A and 29, 243, North Residential. Santa Teresita del Niño de Jesús in Street 38, Francisco Villa Poniente. And the last one in Street 19, Comisaría Xcanatún, all of them in Mérida, Yucatan. Groups and organizations. The community doesn't have exactly an organization or a group, but it has different roles at the community. For example, there is the Pope or Father, that is the main one who controls all of the communities. The cardinals, the bishops, priests, deacons, and ministers, among others.
Well, how is the Catholic Church composed? What is this community that has remained since archaic times? The Catholic Church is the most numerous Christian church, composed of 24 churches, the Latin Church and 23 Eastern churches, which are in full communion with the Pope and which collectively bring together more than 1,200 million faithfuls. It is a Christian community that goes back to Jesus and the 12 apostles, through an apostolic succession never interrupted, and also is shared with the Orthodox Church. Throughout its 2 millennia of history, the Catholic Church has influenced Western philosophy, science, art and culture. His teachings include the spirit of the gospel and the performance of corporal and spiritual works of mercy in attention to the sick, poor and afflicted, as part of their social doctrine. The Church, in fact, is the largest non-governmental provider of education and medical services in the world. That is why the notion of Catholic is used with reference to the Christian religion that has as its leader the Pope of Rome. Christians are the followers of Christ, considered the Son of God. The Pope, for his part, is the successor of the Apostle Saint Peter and vicar of Christ in the earthly world. Well, if we talk about economy of the Catholic community, different media says that the Vatican could end world poverty, but that's false. Possibly the greatest tragedy of the poor, the marginalized, the sick, the destitute, the elderly, etc., is that of not being able to make their voices heard in front of those who can help to alleviate or change their situation. In this sense, the Pope provides one of the most noble and important services to be the voice of those who do not. The Vatican income is part of all tourists who visit the Vatican and in which they have different items, food, souvenirs of saints and donations from people to the Pope, who receives a lot of gifts from of his most recognized followers. However, Pope Francis receives all those gifts and donates them to all those who have low income and few resources. But we are here to talk about the community that surrounds them, and that is 20 years ago when the Church of Our Lady of Pilar was founded by Bishop Antonio, who by his power brought 3 priests to proclaim the word of God to all those who were at a long distance from the cathedral, where everyone listened to the religious ceremony, and have maintained themselves economically thanks to all the donations for part of the premises, as well as in the realization of different events made by part of the Christian community. Thanks to the church, people take advantage of the moments and their intelligence to be able to manufacture industrial quantities of products. In the same way, we take advantage of the painful losses and we have a funeral industry where mass crusades and different events are held to watch over the souls of the deceased in the funeral and the cremation of a dead person. But, in conclusion, with the passage of the time thoughts change, in addition to different perspectives. Nowadays, people are more influenced by the scientific and natural reality of things than waiting for something that will not happen through meditation. However, there are still people who struggle not to fall into the temptation to give in to those thoughts and remain rigid and conservative in their ideals, because they believe that there is a force that surrounds them and protects them, supports them, and does not move away. We can only sit down and live our lives, hoping that strength greater which has created us come and make a big change to believe.